I love the little surprises you get in this game every now and then. This person pulled out a torch on me when I invaded, but what he failed to consider is that I'm fully trained in the once forgotten ancient art of torch combat. I know all the tricks, such as wearing armor. That usually helps quite a bit. Right, so as you can see, I've made my way back to the Wall of Lothric. I actually often find myself meandering my way back to this spot, I think, for duels, because it's just, you get a good broad range of opponents, and as I said, you get the occasional surprise. Now, for example, in this session, I actually even got ganked. I entered this world, ran up over to the bonfire area where people choose to do their fights, and this guy was there who I assumed was the host, and then, yeah, one of his summons jumped me. I had to run for my life. Although I say that like I actually ended up getting away with my life, which I didn't. I did try and implement the tried and tested techniques of splitting up a gang, splitting up the host from the summon. I tried to jump across these platforms here so that I could, so that they'd have to jump over to follow me. And then my plan was I could just hit them as they tried to jump over, and hopefully they'd fall back down. The summon jumped over at some point and managed to avoid my attacks on the way. The host came up using the ladder, so yeah. That invasion came to a brutal end, and I did not get the duel I was looking for. However, it's actually quite nice to have a surprise like that every now and again, which this game is great for, because every time you invade, you think you're expecting one thing, and occasionally your expectations will not be matched. That's for sure. Now, I found myself in an interesting situation recently, something quite bittersweet. On the one hand, which I'm sure many of you will have noticed this by now, the channel has passed the quite significant milestone of 400,000 subscribers. If we just pause the Great Lance shenanigans for a second, I took some time to go back and look at all my responses to reaching previous milestones. I've recently hit, I think, 350 subscribers, which is awesome. Thank you everyone for that. Thanks again, once again, for 2,000 subscribers. I'm really happy about that. I am so happy. I just recently, a few minutes ago, checked my YouTube page, and I've just hit 5,000 subscribers, which is crazy. I can't thank you guys enough for your constant support, really nice messages that you've been sending me. There's some examples on the screen. So I guess those are some snapshots of the journey, and now we have 400,000 people here who all like similar things. And I must say, it really has been a pleasure to interact with you for these recent years. I don't know exactly why, but this community, if you could call it that, is unusually nice, I feel like, if I compare it to others I've seen. See, if I post things on Twitter or chat to people in the comments, everyone always seems to know the inside jokes, you know. You always help me out if I need something, like a specific piece of footage or whatever. When I look at larger channels, quite often the comment section has a significant amount of spam, or people saying just irrelevant things, such as, like this if you're watching in 2016. You know, just things that aren't related to the video. And my point is, so far there hasn't been a huge issue on my channel, and I'd really love it if it could stay like that. I mentioned this milestone is bittersweet, and in fact I received the worst news of my life the day of the milestone. Unfortunately, I have had a very close family member pass away. The only reason I'm saying this is to explain any unusual behaviour from me in the near future. Alright, of course the internet is not the place to talk about these things, so yeah, that's all I'm going to say about it. If you're wondering what I'm using in this video, by the way, I decided to try out the Great Lance because I heard it's not as good as it used to be in Dark Souls 2, for example, and I would say that's correct for the most part. It has a bizarrely long startup animation before all of its attacks. Even the light attack takes like 2 seconds to do. You can throw people off with the timings that way because no one's used to fighting this thing. I couldn't really make it work on its own though. It combos quite well with the Great Axe. It means I can be good at long range and close range using this particular setup. There's also a couple of combos you can do with them, so one-handed using the axe you can get a 2-hit stun lock and then catch them with the lance as they roll away. The lance in the left hand is alright for roll catching, I'd say. The range doesn't seem... I feel like the range should be a bit longer on it, but yeah, it's not bad. You can still catch people from a fair distance. Oh, and the other things I kind of wanted to mention is, you know, the current plans for my channel. I have just started my final year at university, for those who are wondering, so that restarted about 2 weeks ago, so I have got that going on. Plus, I'm currently trying to set up my first ever PC. I'm kind of procrastinating though, but it will happen soon. I'm hoping that once I get it all going, it's going to cut down on render times and just help me out with video editing, which will be great. And then with regards to videos, things have been a bit interesting recently, to be honest. On the one hand, I think the future is going to be brilliant. And then on the other hand, I think I'm going to be slowly transitioning away from certain things. I've noticed quite a few aspects of how I run my channel are being used as inspiration, if you can call it that, for a lot of other Souls channels. Now in a way that's great, of course, imitation being the best form of flattery and what have you. I've built my channel for over 3 years now, and for most of it I was exploring the unknown, as it were. There were barely any channels covering Dark Souls 1 initially, and I know a lot of us essentially wanted to watch videos covering certain things, but no one was making them, and so we did it ourselves. I genuinely think that's a big reason why people started making videos, in the beginning anyway. And that's how the Top 10 series started. I wanted to watch something celebrating individuals from the community. Something that anyone could join in with if they wanted to. But there wasn't anything like that. So I made the series myself, and here we are today. And I've actually switched things up quite a lot since I've started. I've tried a lot of different types of things and video styles. And basically my point is, I think we're in another transitionary period right now. Which has happened a couple of times before. I mean, for example, the switch from Dark Souls 1 to Dark Souls 2 was quite a big change. You know, when I made the decision to stop the Dark Souls 1 Top 10 series and restart it for Dark Souls 2, all these kind of things, they're kind of like transitionary periods where things just get switched up. And some new ideas work, some don't, so it's kind of trial and error. I think that's a big part of YouTube. I don't think it should ever become stationary or static. It's always an evolving process, like life, I suppose. We got the Dark Souls 3 DLC coming up, so all the extra content, which is going to be awesome, but potentially there won't be a Dark Souls 4. I know there's lots of things being said about that. So, I'm going to be introducing a couple of new games to the channel. Now initially, I was worried about this. I have only played Souls games for so long, this is going to sound so sad, but and talked about them for years, that I didn't even know if I could play any of the games. It sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? A really great thing happened recently though, and that is the Nioh beta came out, and I was able to play it, and I uploaded a video on that, and the response was fantastic. Really great comments and feedback. I was quite surprised, but very heartwarming. That was really helpful, and in fact I'm working on a second Nioh video now from the beta because I ended up completing the whole thing. It was that good. I think the best thing would be to very carefully choose a select few games to cover. Games that would make sense on a primarily Souls channel, yeah. And then other than that, keep everything the same. Like, I'm gonna think about what games to start covering. It's not just gonna be anything. For Honor is another good example that I think might work well on the channel. I have to see about that. But yeah, you know, I'm not just talking about Souls-like games, but I think there's definitely better choices than others. So, yep, I'm gonna be working on that. Plus, we all know From Software are working on a number of other projects as well, so of course we have that to look forward to. I remember this fight. This guy was really into the old running attacks, and the thing is, it's such a good attack. It's undeniable. A katana running attack is amazing. And I assume he realised I couldn't parry, so he figured he had me beat. Well, perhaps not. I hadn't fought someone who spammed running attacks for quite a while, believe it or not. So I was sloppy at first, but I figured something out. I always do. I just want to sincerely thank everyone for subscribing to my channel, all 400,000 who have. The main thing for me is that there's 400,000 people out there who kind of like the same things I do, who like to have a laugh, play some Souls. I mean, I don't know the exact reasons why you subscribed, but I guess you must have liked something, which is good enough for me and very humbling as well. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I know it wasn't all good news. I think I'm coping with the things in my life right now the best I can. I hope you're all coping and doing well too. Have a good night everyone, and I will see you in the next video.